Secretary of State Marco Rubio is reportedly in the process of a regime change effort against Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. That's according to a long new report in the New York Times. The military, according to this Times report as well, is also readying operations on narco traffickers inside Venezuela. So that's part of this big New York Times report. I'm going to read a quote from it here. The push by top aides to President Trump to remove Maduro as the leader of Venezuela has intensified in recent days, with administration officials discussing a broad campaign that would escalate military pressure to try to force him out. U.S. officials say it's being led by Marco Rubio, who is also NSA, by the way, and that comes into play a little bit here, too. Rubio argues that Maduro is an illegitimate leader who oversees the export of drugs to the United States, which he says poses a, quote, imminent threat. But Mr. Rubio is shaping a more aggressive strategy using intel provided by the CIA, the officials said, and the Pentagon has built up a force of more than 6,500 troops in the region. Another key part of this article, John Ratcliffe, so that's the head of the CIA, and Stephen Miller, obviously the chief domestic policy advisor close to Donald Trump, both support Mr. Rubio's approach. The officials added, again, according to the Times, the U.S. military has been planning potential military operations targeting drug trafficking suspects in Venezuela as a next phase, although the White House has not yet approved such a step, current and former military officials say. There was actually another story, I think it was in the Washington Post, Ryan, just a couple of days ago, about how there's disagreement between the Pentagon and the White House regarding whether it's appropriate to start readying a military operation in South America, and I think Mexico as well was part of the disagreements. Just finally from the Times, those operations would be aimed at interfering with drug production and trafficking in Venezuela, as well as tightening a vice around Mr. Maduro. Trump admin officials have not yet confirmed whether there have been such exchanges, and the White House did not provide a comment on the matter. So this was a big New York Times piece basically reporting out, Ryan, what we knew was happening, or what we all suspected was happening. There have been leaks to this effect, but this put it pretty clearly, I think, about what's happening inside.
Yeah, and I'm surprised he's not going for Cuba in this, because the situation in Cuba, even though it doesn't get anywhere near the attention it should, is catastrophic. You know, people losing significant amounts of weight, the outflow of. It's lost like a third of its population over the last like 5 years or more. Crime is rising. Like it feels like the embargo has, with the tightening sanctions, might actually finally do what it's been trying to do, which is topple the government, and we'll get a failed state in its place. So for Rubio, you know, who wanted nothing more than to topple that government his entire life. It's interesting that he's doing kind of Venezuela first.
Yeah.
And it at least is pushing some Democrats to start to come out publicly against regime change in Venezuela. Representative Don Beyer, he posted, Donald Trump's, quote, special military operation in Venezuela is a terrible idea. He's going from murdering people on boats without charges or due process to what sounds like regime change by military force. A quote, president of peace doesn't start new, unwise, and unnecessary wars. This would be something that Democrats could, you know, follow Beyer's lead on and really push Trump on, because, you know, outside of South Florida, nobody voted for this, and half the people in South Florida don't want this. It's basically just using the U.S. military to play act this counter-revolution that the South Florida Cuban population has wanted for 50 plus years.
Well, I mean, we have reminders that are still downstream of the Cold War in our foreign policy every day about how easily these types of operations can go wrong, Iran being one of them. An ally of Venezuela's, by the way, Venezuela, clearly of interest to the United States. Venezuela's oil reserves are not unimportant to the United States' interest in Venezuela, of course. And so these are incredibly kinetic situations, risky situations, explosive situations. And so if the U.S. right now is readying, which clearly I think it is, precision targeted strikes on narco traffickers in Venezuela. And by the way, I read the entire, I think it was SDNY indictment of Maduro the other day, and it's not insane. Like, there are actually some pretty credible connections between Maduro and Cartel of the Suns, and over the last, I mean, I think it goes over like the last 10, 15 years. So some of it's going back pretty far. It's not insane that Maduro, to say that Maduro, as Rubio does, it's not insane to say that Maduro may have had something to do with narco trafficking. Again, he's the leader of Venezuela.
All governments are involved with drug trafficking. So
Ryan wrote a book on.
Yes, that's right.
This is your, what's it called? This is your brain on drugs.
This is your country on drugs.
This is your country on drugs. Yes. So anyway. It's not an insane indictment, but as a predicate for military operations, it's completely, for military operations that are, let's just say, it would be a bit of a stretch to call democratic because nobody's going to vote on this, of course. There's talk of actually using the AUMF earlier. It was one of the Venezuelan boat strikes where people were throwing out that maybe it was covered by the AUMF. Do you remember that? Like the anti-terrorist AUMF after 9/11? Yes. Yeah. So just the ways that this could go wrong, we have had, 50 plus years to learn from. And especially as the right started re-exploring a lot of this during the Biden administration and the first Trump administration about how intelligence agencies are undergoing these regime change and propaganda operations that then are anti-democratic and trickle into, as much as you may disagree with communism and see the dangers of communism and understand, as a conservative, let's say that you share all of those perceptions as I do, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
If they were, if I were the lawyer for the Trump administration, the way I would tell them that you could use the AUMF is to say, because AUMF says basically you can use force against like Al-Qaeda and people involved in 9/11. I would say, okay, here's how you make the argument. The CIA helped to create Al-Qaeda. The CIA helped to create a lot of these drug trafficking operations. Yeah. So therefore, there's a connection between the CIA and 9/11 and drug trafficking, and the AUMF allows violence against anybody involved in 9/11. And so there you go.
I was going to say that's insane, but that is not insane. What's insane is the actual case that you made. The fact that that's real is like actually completely insane.
It's all wrapped up. It's legal. Yeah, because it's all CIA operation.
Yeah.
They all are, yeah.
And, well, John Ratcliffe is reportedly on board.
Yeah. And then real quickly, the war with Iran keeps inching closer. Two interesting developments on that. We can put up this next element. Trump administration reached a deal with Iran where they're sending a plane load of Iranian deportees. This is not the thing that's pushing us closer to war. Just kind of fascinating that, like, and I don't quite understand it because the United States has always said, oh, we will give asylum to these Iranian dissidents because Iran is terrible and it's the evil mullahs, and anybody who stands up to the evil mullahs is a friend of the United States. So what's going on here? Why are we like, actually, never mind, go back to the evil mullahs?
I genuinely don't know. Probably espionage charges. I
don't think it's way too. This seems just like standard migration situation.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's happened with.
We wouldn't send them back if they were spies.
We wouldn't maybe send all of them back, but yeah.
Bizarre. But
that's weird.
In another ominous development, this Amouage Media reported yesterday that the French negotiations are ongoing around these kind of snapback sanctions and the nuclear deal. French apparently came to a deal with the Iranians that would involve Iran basically giving everything up when it comes to its nuclear program, again, in exchange for some sanctions relief. U.S. came in and basically vetoed that and told Iran, you have to stop enriching. You have to give us all of the enriched uranium, because in the past, like you would store it somewhere or you would give it to Russia, or it wasn't like you would give it to the United States. So you have to give us all of your enriched uranium. You have to stop your enrichment, and in exchange, we will give you a delay of like 3 months or 6 months or 9 months of these snapback sanctions. So no sanctions relief, but just a delay of some further sanctions. And the Iranian government was like, wow, this is like insulting. It's so absurd. And so the sense among people watching this is like that this is just a pretext for for more strikes coming pretty soon.
Yes, and Iran, by the way, has a lot of like oil property in Venezuela, and this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show with Argentina and soybeans, just in the last block, about why Bessent might be so interested in bailing out Argentina. So
yeah, and if we wanted, if the U.S. government wanted prices to be lower for the American people, like there are ways you could do it by not doing needless wars, for instance, with Venezuela and Iran. But that getting prices down for the American people is not remotely a priority, apparently.
Well, that does it for us today. Ryan, big show, big news cycle. Shutdown news isn't going anywhere. Crystal and Sagar will be back here tomorrow, and we'll see everyone on Friday.
Indeed.
All right, see you guys then.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show, ad-free, and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.